It's like, hey y'all, it's like welcome here for another episode of To Put It Bluntly. Here with myself, Gallo, and my boy over there, Ash. So today's
Yo,
in particular for this week is going to be the Elon Musk Neuralink. We're going to be discussing that right now, and everything from ethics to like how realistic it is, and etc. So go off, man. What you got for us so far?
well, first of all, shout out Arsenal for winning. No, I'm not gonna. I'm
Oh, they
not gonna
won.
switch it all up. Yeah, yeah. Oh, they won. Yeah. I to be honest, I don't watch game by game anymore. But yeah, man, they beat. It was. I mean, it was an amazing team. It was full of. Can't remember who they beat.
Mm.
But I don't know, man. Arteta's doing good. Yeah, it was Fulham. 3-0. Uh, yeah, man. Aubameyang is ridiculous. Anyways, I'm not gonna talk about this. Neuralink. Yeah. So, how I kind of found out about it, obviously, like, I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. So watching his
Mm.
podcast, watching the Elon Musk interview, he had brought it up, and when he did bring it up, he couldn't really talk about it too much. So it was something that I was always just interested in. And here we are, like we have, hour long kind of conference, I guess, where Elon Musk is talking about Neuralink. He had a bunch of people that work at the company, surgeons, from surgeons to like the people who do coding to people who are taking care of animals. You have all these people
Mm.
that are working to kind of build this Neuralink company, and just saying that it's it's uncomfortable to understand how it will be done because I feel like it's the next echelon of technology and humans being connected. Um, but at the same time, when he starts talking about the possibilities, you're like, wow, like that sounds amazing, you know. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and I don't know. Do you have a stance today, or do you have a clear stance on how you feel about this?
Nah, I don't, man. But it's like, how do I put it? I mean, I see the medical benefits that it could bring. Like that's undeniable. But there's also a lot of sensationalism behind it. Just like, oh shit, like we can like replay our memories. Like, do we need to do that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's yeah, I don't know. I feel like it could run into like some evolutionary problems.
Like,
And
what are you thinking?
it's just like an overstimulation of the human. We're already having that problem today, but it's like if you were able to have that technology like directly into your brain, like it's hard to say what's gonna happen, because it's like there's just so many possibilities. Like, it could be one of those like situations where like it just spirals into like an unexpected case, and it's just like that's kind of a needs to it can't be like pushed lightly. I know these like sound like really ambitious things, right? Like, and people as consumers really like that idea, but it's like, as like as an engineer and as a scientist, like you got to be very careful, on all
Sure.
that shit.
And I'll say if you see me kind of veering off the screen or like typing, I'm trying to be the Jamie of our podcast because or not like not fully because I don't actually want to have that responsibility. But I feel like this is a topic that could go a lot of ways. So I just want to look up things if I can. But yeah, to your point, man, you mentioned replaying memories. And it's funny that you mentioned that piece. And I think you did different sorts of research versus the ones I did. I actually just watched like that hour-long footage and have just been a general fan of Elon Musk, so been looking up or been keeping up with kind of the stuff that he does to a certain degree. My first thought, I didn't even think about the marketing or the consumer side of this Neuralink of the ability to be like just think about something and connect with you, or like we can have a conversation about speaking. I'm not really thinking about any of those things right now. I'm thinking of, okay, like, can we actually cure blindness with this? Can we actually cure deafness? Maybe not deafness. I don't know if that was one of the things, but
Mm.
can we cure seizures? Can we cure, I don't know, ability to taste or something?
Like
Whatever.
Parkinson's and shit.
Yeah, Parkinson's, like whatever unique diseases slash whatever symptoms or whatever you want to categorize those things as those happen to human beings. Can we solve that with this? And that's where my focus immediately went. And I kind of disregarded the 30, 40, 50, 100 years down the line of what it would bring up, because
Mm.
I'm thinking of the immediate health benefits.
Right.
Um, um, so yeah, in that regard, I am literally just like fully on board. I'm like, because I think the stage they're on in is very early on. They're not, it's not like a year from now, or maybe, I don't know, Elon's kind of crazy, but yeah, well, one, Elon Musk and Tesla and just the stuff that Elon Musk has been a part of has had a very long history of having like a release date and them always failing to meet the release date,
Right.
which is just because there's aggressive goals, there's aggressive um, vision. So, that's going to come about. So I'm not saying that to downplay anything, but, you know, Elon does have a history of blowing things out of proportion in a way to like
Mhm.
sell it to you. Like
Right.
from his cars being the fastest to the Tesla truck to like uh, launching a rocket, bringing it back down without it being destroyed to have it reusable to
Hmm.
creating those rockets in such a extreme budget that's like never been heard of.
Hmm.
All these are just ridiculous goals that everyone with knowledge about these topics would probably scoff at.
Hmm.
But for me, I'm just like, who else is doing this? And I'm sure there are other people's, but this one seems to have like a lot of publicity. Um,
Right. Yeah. I
I'm all
mean,
for it.
it employs the importance of sometimes having like the private sector come into like, like the research and academia area, because it's like all the results that he had from what I've gathered so far, are, it's like something really new, like being able to like, like get the brainwave or like the pix movements. It's like, I mean, that's cool, but it's like, it's just been done. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Well,
it is kind of,
what about let me bring that back to you then. So, that may have been done, but from the sounds of it, I guess the prototype they have today, that little like quarter size thing with the little dangly lines coming out of it, I feel like that's something that's not been done before, and that's where the innovation's happening, right? I don't think he's trying to wow you with the fact that the you know the it was capturing data or like the waves of movement or whatever it
well,
was.
it's like, yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. Like, yeah, it could be refined, but it's like, it's like, again, we go back to the whole thing, how Elon hype shit up. Like, it's like, it's good shit, but it's like, I don't know, like he speaks heavy, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I also read that, it's like some researchers like they're like pretty known neuroscientists, I think in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, kind of
Mhm.
made some comments on like, they weren't like derogatory comments. They were just saying like, okay, like this is good engineering, but like the neuroscience has a long way to go. And he kind of like fucking backlashed on Twitter as he does. And then like, people are like, like that gets his followers to talk shit, when in reality it's kind of like, it's like relax, yo. Like, I mean, it's good shit, but like if you're getting constructive criticism on the neuroscience, like you should probably
So,
listen.
well, but I don't think saying neuroscience is not where the hardware or the engineering side of it is. It's not really constructive criticism, right? That's just kind of saying like,
How is it
hey,
not?
because constructive criticism, I think, comes with a sign of like improvement, or with a not a sign of improvement, with a gesture of like, hey, here's how you could improve on what you're doing today.
Right, but
Oh,
it's like that. I mean, it's like just because it wasn't given that way doesn't mean it's not that.
so
It's
what's constructive about it?
it's like it's just telling them like the neuroscience could be better. It's like, again, it's like that's all it's saying. It's saying you could refine your product even further. But it's
That's not
like,
constructive. But that I feel like, see, I need to know what the value point was. Telling you, it's like me saying like, hey man, your teeth is white, but it could always be whiter. Like, what's
not
constructive about
necessarily.
that?
No, no, because you're misconstruing it. It's like
No,
when
no,
it's
I'm just
like,
asking you, like, what is the actual points of them saying like, hey,
because
Elon, you're
they're
doing
talking
this and
about
this wrong.
they're talking about the data you're extrapolating from it. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? It's like, oh, like, yo, you're seeing waves. Like, again, it's been done before. So that's why they're saying it's like the engineering is good, which is like the actual hardware, like how you bring and refine it, like what you bring it to the table. But it's like it can reach for more, is what it was saying. And it's like that's usually how like it kind of goes in like research.
Man, I really wish we had a Jamie, because I wish someone was Googling this stuff, because I wanted to look for the tweets or whatever, and I was like,
I
I'm like,
mean,
I'm not that good at Googling and trying to also have a
uh,
conversation and listening to you.
let me
So I was
see.
like,
I think they posted it somewhere, man. I think I had it open.
yeah. And I think regardless, right? Now let's say Elon didn't fire back. And to be honest, I think, but I just don't give a shit about both sides of them. Like I don't even care about the dialogue of that. Like when it
All
starts
right.
getting into Twitter, and then when they starts getting into like, of like talking into, interviews, or talking in interviews or magazines, or Elon twittering, like that's when I start becoming like, be a fucking adult, like I don't care about
All
this
right.
shit. My biggest thing again goes back to, should we explore this topic? I'm not smart enough to know how much of this is real, or how much of this is like really believing in some things that doesn't exist today. Like I don't know, right?
Mhm.
But from what Elon upsells us, which he's known to do, I'm like all on board. Is like, why wouldn't we start this? You know,
Right.
and I do want to take a pause just in case you did find the link and you want to bring it up. But
Oh,
the other
nah.
topic I want. Oh,
Like I was just hearing you out, but
okay.
I can go find it.
Nah, it don't matter. The reason I wanted to find it is more just to like understand. well, what are the objections? Because I'm not trying to downplay the fact that there aren't objections, but I want to
Yeah.
know what they are and to see how much of a blocker they are. Like if this was coming out and Elon was like, oh yeah, we partnered up with the U.S. government and we're gonna install these chips 2021 January on every single human being, I'd be like,
Hmm.
nah, fam, no, we're good. Like I'm good. I
I
don't need
get you.
to, like I don't need to cure anything for me. I'm Gucci. But I don't think that's where this is going, right? I think the way I'm seeing it is like they're going to continue to improve this technology, and maybe someone who's been blind or who's recently been blind and wants to take that chance to be like, hey, I want to have some human trials done on me, or someone who may have a condition that you know may cause death, like
Hmm.
in a very like guaranteed way. Those are the people that I think are looking to take chances. And I really don't want to speak for them because I'm not in that position, so I don't know what's
Hmm.
in their mind.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that's where it starts. Those people that are really in like the last edge of life, whether it's literal or just like mentally being like, hey, I'm done with this. I can't live like this. What
Hmm.
options do I have?
Hmm.
I would happily want to have a solution like this, or even an attempted solution like this.
Right. I mean, again, it's like no one's denying the medical benefits it could have, but it's like it can still be open to improving a few things, like anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
by the way, if this actually like launches, let's say January, I'm not gonna get on this until there have been like millions of people that have done it,
Right,
because
right,
I'm
right,
also wary of how perfect it is. Like
right.
it's going inside my brain. So I'm not saying Elon got it all figured out.
All
I'm
right,
just
it has
saying,
a noble vision.
yeah, and I feel like
Like, oh, to some degree.
I would hope that people, or you say to some degree, why do you say that?
Because it's like it's like anything in the private sector, like it's always like hyped the fuck out, but it's like how's it really gonna play out when like people have to pay for it? Like who can pay for it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, is it gonna be like then it gets into the ethics of it, right? How like in anything in American capitalism gets presented as a specific way, and then it gets played out a little bit differently. So I think that's always important to
Yeah,
note as well.
I say let's look at Elon's track record, right? We
Mm-hmm.
look at SpaceX, Tesla, even his flamethrower. But
Boring
I'll
company.
focus more on like I think you may know a little bit more. You might know a lot more about SpaceX than me, or at least like understand it because of your background in engineering. Uh, I'm definitely not. I'm a business guy. I'm not an engineering guy, right? But I do understand business, and I do understand what Tesla did to an extent. So seeing, here's what I'll concede to you. Elon Musk always says you're going to get this, this, and this, and you never really get this, this, and this. You get a little
Mm-hmm.
bit less than this, this, and this,
Right.
right? Or it's going to cost this, but really it costs a little bit more. So he never actually ever meets that exact thing that he proposes.
Mm-hmm.
But if we were to just look at what he's created up until now, because now we can actually look at the trail and be like, this man has successfully launched some extremely important, innovative companies that will be the differentiators for like the human race. If I'm like, not to hype them up too much, but a little
So
bit.
I mean, so we think, it's like to some degree, yes. In some
Well,
sectors,
who
probably more than others. Probably
if
space
we're to
for
pick
sure, but it's like, I don't know, it's like,
from
I'm
space to even green technologies?
yeah, but it's like I'm looking at it internationally, bro. Like not just the states. Like yeah, for the states for sure. I'm kind of waiting to see what like other countries are doing, and that's when I'm gonna tell you like, oh shit, like it's actually gonna change the fucking world. I'm not gonna start saying statements like the world though yet.
You don't think the push of Tesla's electric cars are changing the world today, and will be a very big, and again, like this is a really unfair question because really knows. But to me, if I were to say, would you bet money on it? Like if you had to bet on this side or this side, I would bet money that, and this side being like Elon is not changing the world, and this side being Elon is changing the world.
Mhm.
I would bet money that he is changing the world. In the future, if we were to look back, 50
I
years from
mean,
now,
I
100
mean,
years from now.
again, it's very possible, but it's like I'm just hesitant for like what's happening right now. Like I need I need comparisons, and I just don't have them yet, and I will acknowledge that.
Right. But I think the reason you don't have comparisons is because Elon is always trying to break into the extremes of things. So there's not other people really doing it. Right?
Right,
Like
but it's
like when
like
Elon was
yes,
making
someone can break into extremes, but that's not me. I want to see the influence of the extreme, if that makes sense.
no, I agree, right? But how can you get get the influence of the extremes if you're not even optimistic about the new things he's doing. The only way we can look at Tesla and SpaceX and be like, look at what they have done so far is because I'm not saying it necessarily got the backings of all the people, because it didn't, because it had very rough starts. But the only reason we can do it is because somebody took a chance, somebody's money was put in, and it got to a point where like, oh, hey, bro, like we're actually successful. Like we
Right, but
made
it's like,
it.
I don't want to rely on like hopefulness. I just want to see it. And that's it, you know. It's like
But
if like
how can you not have hopefulness when it hasn't been created yet, right? Like I think any idea needs optimism and hope to really like flourish.
yeah, but I'm not the creator of it, so I don't need to see it as positive.
But you see it as negative though.
Not negative. I just want to see it as it turns out being more moral.
So then would you say that there should be more investments thrown in at Elon and Neuralink? There should be, and I'm not saying there should be in
Mm,
the sense like someone should force somebody to invest, but I'm saying that like my hope is that, because so the video that, or the conference that Elon and his team kind of put out, right? It was, they were saying that like, I'm not here to get money from you. I need workers. Like I need engineers. I need veterinarians. I need people who take care of animals, to the code, to the person who physically will do the surgery, or the robot that will do the surgery, right?
hmm
So he's really looking just for employees. So I think at this point, and knowing who Elon is, he's probably like investing on his own, or like, or what I guess what I'm saying is like, I don't think it's like saying Luis and me need to go and put in money so like this technology can happen, but it's like, seeing what I've seen, I want more stuff being invested into that project, you know, like,
I mean, I
and
get
that's where I'm at.
but it's like I also don't think like one sole proprietor should be like, have a hegemony over it. I think that's it's like
Yeah,
because
but
like
that's
yeah.
too future thinking though.
Oh, I'm just thinking even in the short term, man. It's like because it should be like how would I put it? Like if a lot more people were doing it, or like or more so it's like if we fully knew that like it was absent of like aspects such as greed and things, and yeah, like absolutely like put a lot like funnel all the money into it. But it's like
But
it's like
nothing in the world is like that.
nothing in the world is like that. So it's like that's why it's like we should also like be careful as to like believe in like in just like entire statements that are like just happy and optimistic. Like so you need to scrutinize everything.
For sure. And I'm trying to say like, then, what areas do you scrutinize from what's been presented by Elon? Right? Like for me, like just the fact that there's a possibility of improving on health is like, that's a chance that I would want to just take. That's a dice that I want to roll.
Right,
Right.
but it's like it's like as soon as we feel like things like improvements in health and things, it's like I don't want it to just end up being like a capital gain. It's like I actually want it to be like yeah, like we're actually striving to actually like help people. It doesn't just become like like oh we hype this up that it's gonna change the world, but then you look at the numbers and it's like oh shit like this enforces classism and all that shit.
Yeah, but see, I think that's the problem, is that like, I see, because and this is getting a little bit deeper. Like me and you have, I don't know if we have different views, but we've had discussions about capitalism, socialism, and even fuck, communism. I was thinking of constructive criticism, and I was like, that's not a type of government. Constructive criticism
Mm-hmm.
might be useful to have that sort of government where they can offer constructive criticism and people will listen. But like we've had those conversations, and
Yeah.
and Elon Musk, and like, he has a love for like North America and USA because of like the capitalist market.
Right.
And in that, like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is the things you're saying are not, like, you're saying things that like just don't exist. Like, like the idea that someone who's creating this new technology is doing it purely for, and
I'm
and
not,
and,
I'm
and,
bringing
and
up a
this.
conversation of ethics, man. It's like just because I'm inclined, it's just ethics.
So
Like,
then let's look at, well then
is it gonna be everything that it's said to be? Is a real question. Is it gonna actually help people, or are we just spitting shit out there that people just swallow because it sounds positive?
right. And there would be a huge big difference if I were to go on stage and say, hey, I'm starting Neuralink, blah blah blah, I'm doing the presentation, but it's Elon doing it, right? He has a case record that's good and bad, right? He has, bad being like, he's known to do some silly things because he doesn't really give a fuck. He's just like in his own playground doing his shit. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you can't just like push it off like, well, ideas exist, and they have pros and cons. Well, no shit, they all have pros and cons, right? But it's like, okay, well, let's look at who's proposing the idea, and do we trust him as a human being from what he's shown us thus far. And again, I'm a fan of Elon, so like, there's definitely
But
bias coming,
it's exactly that's what it's. I would say that there's a bias there too. Then
but not every bias is bad, right? Like,
But
like
it's
if
like
Man City have won the league, the last 5 years in a row, I guess that's a sort of a bias to me being like, yeah, I think they'll win again this year, like based on everything I've seen, right? And that's all I'm doing, based on what I've seen him create with Tesla, based on what I've seen him do with SpaceX, or at least like, and again, I don't really understand engineering side of things, but from what I've heard from people, like I think SpaceX has already done extremely innovative things that have changed like space programs, right? So just seeing what he's done, and has he made billions of dollars from it? Whether it's net worth or actual physical cash. Yeah, he has. But I'm not gonna be here and be like, well, I feel like Tesla shouldn't exist because he was doing it for the money. I'm like, you can have both. You can have a dude get super fucking rich and also create something that ultimately is a net positive for the world.
but we can't say net positive because we just don't know. It's like it's
Is it
gonna
a
have
is it a right till up until this day? We can't speak for the future, but let's talk about the present. I think Tesla and SpaceX has created a net positive for Earth.
like what has it brought? Like
But
exactly.
what is it?
Like
Like in
like
in
it's
terms
a
of in,
yeah.
in terms of just shifting to using energy for Tesla specifically, from just shifting like consumers' viewpoints on electric cars. Because
Mhm.
before Tesla, the really popular, at least in the US, sedans or like the hybrid models were like the Prius, right? But
Mhm.
nobody cool wanted to drive a Prius. It was people who genuinely cared about Earth. Now Tesla, through
Okay.
branding and marketing, has created this huge shift where it's cool to drive a Tesla. Like
Yeah.
rappers from Jaden Smith to well, I forgot this dude's name, but PL or something, I don't know. But he has Teslas in music videos. So what I'm saying is like, in a
He's made it
way,
cool.
yeah, and you could say that, hey, making it cool is just like capitalistic, the toxic portions of that green product, right? A green being like,
Hmm.
earth healthy product. But I'm saying like the whole, like all the capitalistic and marketing natures that are like forced upon companies these days are what ultimately I think caused Tesla to be this like hyped up machine that ultimately is a net positive to vehicles, to pollution in the world, right? So that's why I'm saying it's a net positive, right? And
But
then force,
you
yeah,
keep
go ahead.
saying the world, man. And
Yeah.
it's like it's good for the states for sure, but it's like the world.
So what the states doesn't affect Earth, and the Earth
It
being
does,
the world.
but it's like again. I'm just thinking about the scales, man. I'm thinking it's like yo, it's like it's Russia like buying Teslas, it's China buying Teslas, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Is the
but
EU buying
see,
Teslas? Like, that's what I'm thinking about.
yeah, but
Like we
here's the
can't just
thing, right?
project, you know.
I think, let's see, Tesla. I think what I would say is, if you were to look at time of the types of vehicles that were created from the day
Mm-hmm.
from the Model T to where Tesla started,
All right.
I'm not saying Tesla has taken over the Earth as the prime, automobile of choice. What I'm saying is, from a system that has been so created to support the oil and gas companies, to support cars and machinery that uses oil and gas, like that has this has been the shift. Like, I don't think the Prius made the shift. The Prius only made the shift for places like San Francisco, where gas prices were like $4 or $5.
Well, I mean,
Like
but
people in
then
Texas weren't buying Priuses for the
then we
sake
get back
of.
to your argument. It's like they're the ones who actually started it, and they're not getting the same cred. And your whole thing about Elon is that he started shit.
Nah, no, my thing is not about him starting shit. My thing is about his impact. I'm saying, for example, Neuralink too. He's not the first person to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the technology already exists. It
Mm-hmm.
it exists in like, if you watch the video, right? He
Different
says like,
formats, yeah.
oh no, I'm saying like currently, like they do this today.
With
They
more
just do it through
cable.
like a helmet, and it's physical, and it's not like
Yeah.
hidden, all this. So I'm not saying Elon is amazing for thinking of new ideas. I'm just thinking of, and I am actually saying that to an extent, but I'm not saying that's the only reason I'm a supporter of him. I'm saying that like
Mm-hmm.
the things he's created has, one, taken over popular demand, right? It's on
Mm-hmm.
everyone's
Yeah.
eyes. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
give a shit about space exploration, and I know what SpaceX is,
You
right?
say?
Like, I have no interest in
It seems
space
like you're kind of
exploration.
fascinated by the marketing and the business aspect of it. Would I be
I
wrong?
think I am fascinated, but that's just
Yeah.
because I'm into that stuff,
All
right?
right. Well, that's what I meant.
But what I'm saying is more like, why couldn't the Prius do it then, right? If the Prius had done what Tesla did, I would be saying the same thing about Toyota Priuses,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't, which is why I'm a fan of. Now, what I will say about Toyota is Toyota and Honda were one of the first. manufacturers of vehicles that created such like safe, reliable cars that just didn't exist before they came. And I think that they should get credit for reliability and
So
supply chain,
so if
improving
I'm
supply
gathering
chain.
this correctly, it's like you really value like the trendsetter essentially.
I specifically value, well, no, I just value Elon Musk for being a smart motherfucker, smart businessman,
Hmm.
and that includes, the businessman aspect of it includes him being a good marketer,
Of
like,
course.
I don't like Trump. I don't like. I mean, actually, I love Kanye, but there's things that Kanye has done that I don't like. But
Hmm.
what can I give them is that they know how to 6ix9ine too. They know how to grab attention, and and you could be the most caring person in the world with the greatest ideas. If you can't convince people that this idea is great, no one will know you, and no, your idea won't become great.
That's true.
Right? You got to be able to sell to other folks these ideas you have, and I think Elon is one of these people that has the the charisma to sell the idea, but also like the fucking brain to understand what's actually going
Right, right.
into the ideas.
And I understand all that. Like I'm just thinking about the ramifications and the weight it could
Right.
have. Which is it's
And
like which is in a table where shit's getting designed. Like both of these sides are needed. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like that's how you get to like
when you say both of these
common ground.
sides, which one do you mean?
Yeah, like between you and like I'm focusing on the ramifications and the technical specifications. And then you're focusing on the impact and like the trends like being set. How that's getting to certain influences and stuff. Yeah.
I also think that ultimately the reason I'm not as worried, and there is a huge ethical conversation that does need to happen. I'm not ignoring that. The only reason that I'm not addressing it right away as like the main topic of interest at this point, because when it's so early on and they're like in R&D phase, they're not in deployment phase, right? So one, I'm like that conversation needs to happen. I just don't think it's needs to happen right now, the second.
Hmm.
But I would say maybe it needs to happen in parallel, just to concede that.
Yeah.
But what I would say is like the ethical dilemma, right? I think is only a dilemma if it's forced onto you. I think at the end of the day, there should be a choice whether you want Neuralink or not, and
I
it could be
mean,
this.
I don't know, man. I feel like just things being forced is not the only ethical dilemma you could have. What
Well,
about
what are you
deception,
thinking?
man? Like it's like what about like when it's like you just don't question things because of a hype. Like what about like when you fall to groupthink? Like are we not to discuss the ethical implications of these things and only like being forced is the only silver lining you have? I think we misunderstand ethics at that point.
Right. And I think that there's already pieces in place to do that level of checking, right?
I wouldn't
Because
know.
here, well, like the FDA, for example, he brought this up a lot. Like, hey, we're working extremely closely with the FDA.
But it's
And
the, it's the FDA like the most reliable source for you.
well, Luis, are you going to be the most reliable source for us?
I'm not, but I'm just bringing up questions, man. Hikey, because it's like the FBA also has certain track records of certain like corruptions, through big pharma. It's like, is this another one of those, but not in big pharma?
I
That's all I'm
think
bringing to the table, man. It's
I
like,
understand, but I think the way you're questioning this stuff, nothing would ever get produced because there's too
mhm,
much hesitancy and reluctancy and lack of trust, right? At the end of the day, like we all consume things, from a digital, physical, whatever standpoint, knowledge, books, right?
mhm,
And then like at a certain point, you got to make a decision of from what I've
right?
seen of this person, like, do I trust this person? Like sometimes you have the fortunate time of being able to have dinner with this person, and
Hmm.
other times you don't, right? You just get to like read his tweets, read his vibe, and Trump could be the nicest dude ever, but I don't fucking see that.
Hmm.
And that's to his, like, I guess, fault. That's definitely to his fault. But like so I guess what I'm trying to say is like you can't just speculate and not make any decision at all. And I think that's stopping progression. You got to choose at least one point. It doesn't have to be a yes or no, but you got to pick a side and make some decisions.
But what's to tell you like I don't pick sides, or like
Well,
when I
that's
know
I'm asking you,
not to
what's your
pick and let
side,
other
right?
people pick. It's
Oh,
like
say that one more time.
it's like or when I have to pick or when I choose not to pick and let others pick. Because it's
Are you
like
saying are you saying
it's
is
like
that okay or I don't understand?
or more so it's like me bringing this up is like immaterial in many ways because it's like
Same.
that's not gonna stop anybody from like like getting on the hype train or not getting on it, right? It's like I like so it's like so I'm just bringing up the questions that are like the deeper ones, right? It's like but I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not I'm not saying it's like
Well, let's.
I'm not trying to stop progression of sorts. I'm just sort of like how do I put
These
it?
are yeah. Well,
these,
I mean,
these, these are some questions to consider. it
Well,
shouldn't harm anything, but
your question of deception, right? Are you saying that
well,
like
it's like just like when things just fall, like like for example, it's like I don't know, when people buy like iPhones, right? It's like, oh, like they swear by it, right? But is it really better because it's popular? Like, no, yo, like
yeah,
that
but
kind of
what
comes.
does that have to do with like creating something? If the
I'm talking
iPhone comes
about
out tomorrow and says, "Hey, this chip is faster," and it probably is faster, but how much faster is it? Is it recognizable by humans? Like, why does that have to
so
matter?
like I'm just saying it's like people like because like in this country like you see a lot of people fall to like sensationalism, and it's like that's the only
Sure.
thing I'm saying. It's like I'm saying like if it's a good product, like get the specs, get the details, like quantify it, like don't just be like like don't just make it like qualitative. That's all I'm
But do you
saying.
think that's up to the individual
Um,
and not the company that's
I
producing these?
see ideally, man, but again, a lot of people just follow groupthink, yo. Like they don't really
Yeah, but
question it. They're
that
just
well,
like,
why is that the
oh,
problem of Elon? I think that's what I'm having a hard time buying into is this idea of like I don't think it's the responsibility of the company to make sure that
well,
someone
I'm
doesn't get
talking about
suckered in.
trends because it's like trends out here like have like huge ramifications. So that's what I'm addressing more. And some of these trends are sometimes just like they're not what they appear to be. That's it.
No, I agree with you, man, dude. I'm not saying I actually disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying like, well, what mechanism would you have in place that would solve this problem, right? And I'm obviously that's a tough question because I don't know what mechanism I would have, but I'm saying yes, there are trends that are really fucking stupid, like eating Tide Pods, that like I don't understand why they exist at all,
Mm,
right? There's some silly ass trends like on TikTok of like the I don't know if you've seen it when like two people are in the car and then like they'll get a bag from the back and just like hit them in the back of the head and then like
mm,
hit them again and see what happens. Like there's
yeah.
just some like really silly trends and that just comes from boredom, right? But like why who should the ownership of that be? Like should it be the first person who created that video? They get sued for everything? I don't think so, right? I think it's
Mm,
like, yo, take responsibility for your choices.
that's what you're
That's
saying.
why that's why I just feel like if at the end of the day this is not forced upon anybody, right? It's an option given to somebody. I think, yeah, like I don't think anybody can say no to that.
Well, see, but it's like again, man. I go back to it's just like that's one aspect of ethics. It's like then there are the other ones. It's like so if people like do have a choice, but then it's like but then like I don't know, maybe like you get some data off of these individuals, right? And you act
Mm-hmm.
like they have like autonomy, but they don't. It's like I'd rather know straight up like shit. We're gonna control you if you're doing this shit, and just like then being like
Mm-hmm.
behind my back type situation, which happens like
Yeah.
often.
So that I agree with you 1,000%. But that's why me as a consumer, I would make a decision to not really opt into getting it until I absolutely need it.
And I
Because
get
I don't trust Elon and data collection. Like I don't trust them for that shit.
all right.
I
It's
know
kind of
damn
it's kind
right
of
they're
like a
gonna be
Facebook situation. So I think
yeah,
is what I'm
hundred
trying to
thousand
get to.
percent.
You know what I'm
But the
saying?
thing is, we both use Facebook.
We
If we're
do.
so fucking worried about data collection, get off Facebook. But ain't nobody doing it.
That's a good point.
So like, put your money where your mouth is. It's
But
kind of
then,
my
but then we also go into the aspect of trends. It's like even though we have these opinions, like we're still susceptible. We're still like these animals that like you know want to be part of the social crew.
yeah, sure. But what does that have to do with anything?
Like it's like that's where the hypocrisy could come in. Is what I'm saying. That's why like even though if you have certain stances, like that's why like how would I put it? Like trends are need to be like how would I put it, under a microscope a little more, just because it's like whether you like it or not, like it affects you indirectly or directly.
Man, I feel you, man. I just think that like approaching it from the trend perspective is not the right way to address the problem. Like it's like because what my brain is doing, right? I'm like, there are stupid trends, there are good trends. Like there are trends that like I don't actually like the ASL bucket challenge, like from a while back, if you remember that, dumping ice cold water on people to like raise awareness of wait, is it ASL? No.
I think so.
Or,
I don't remember.
let me just Google this so I don't totally butcher it. We need a fucking Jamie, dude. Maybe once we start racking up some views. Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. It was dumping head for I can't say it because I'm Asian. I can't say the word
I
sclerosis.
don't.
Um, like the Lou Gehrig's disease. I'll call it that because I can say his name. The it's like sclerosis. I can't. I hate that I tried this hard because this is gonna forever exist on the internet.
I mean, I think we got the point.
Dude, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of turning red.
A little bit, a little bit.
Nah, it's this moon thing or not moon thing, whatever, salt lamp. I'm tripping, but yeah. So there's like positive and negative trends, right?
Mhm.
But my brain is never gonna be like, we should monitor trends. Like we should
Why
find
not?
everything that ever trends. Cause I want to fucking have control. I want to have freedom. Like I don't
But
want
it's
people
like,
to tell me what to
but
do.
a trend to a degree gives you a sense of freedom, but you might not necessarily have it. So that's
No, you're missing the point. I'm saying more like I don't want any group to tell me that I can't do the ASL bucket challenge. I don't want any group to tell me that I can't eat Tide Pods.
so you'd rather
But
have a sense of choice, like a sense of choice.
yes, I would much rather 100% have a sense of choice. Now, but that's what I'm trying to say. That's not the root of the problem. The root of the problem is people are fucking stupid, and like people are bored. Like we need to find better ways to. And again, I don't have the answer to everything, but I think it's like fundamentally okay. What could be possibly wrong with these people that are doing these terrible challenges, right? I think one is just like kids are bored and they want to do silly shit with their friends. Now, parental households, like who's watching these kids? You know, if they don't have parents, like how are they finding, you know, what's the right word here? Like how are they finding people to look up to like, you know, make their decisions based off of? You know, I'm thinking of like how are they being educated? Are they being fed properly? Like I'm thinking of these things. Like I'm not saying we should have a fucking analyzer of trends and see what trends should happen and what shouldn't happen. Because I don't want it to ever get to a point where, let's say I do a dance trend on TikTok for my song and they say like, oh, the way you like shake your elbow is derogatory, so we're banning your trend.
I see what you're saying, man, but it's like I'm not going to like an authoritarian thing. I'm just saying more so it's like when those things that seem like how do I put it, man? I don't even know how to put it exactly.
Hey, it's Monday. It's a long day, man.
No,
Our brain ain't firing.
it's like those things that like indirectly affect you, man. You know, it's like you know, it's like there are those things where like we ourselves start kind of like policing ourselves, right?
That's
That's
what
sort
you
of
want, you're saying,
situation.
right?
Well, I mean, no, so I'm saying it's like that. Those are the ones that like are the issue in particular. But
Wait,
it's
you're
like,
saying the issues are when we're self-policing?
yeah, because it's like then we're like, I don't know, like, we start kind of fooling ourselves a bit. Meanwhile, like the other ones are just kind of like, no, I
Wait,
don't
so
even know how
then,
to word it, man, high key. But it's like, but it's like, I think there's, I don't know. I think it goes back to maybe a little bit of that black and white aspect of myself. It's like I think like some trends are like not worth like even having, like you know. But it's that just me.
yeah, but to me, I'm just like, who are you to say that?
I am but an opinion. That's it.
No, fact,
And,
fact. But
and who are you to say people need freedom? That's also subjective too.
you know what? You're right, right? And I would say this: if you're stating what you're stating purely as an opinion and just saying like this is how I feel about it, and like I don't really care what actually ends up happening at the end of the day, that's totally cool. Because then you're right. It's just an opinion. You have the right to say your opinion. Um, all I'm saying is, I as a human being, I as my ethical, moral code, everything, I'm always gonna be more on the side of I'd much rather have dumb people be able to do dumb shit than to have some people who think they're smart tell me I can't do this or I can't do that.
Mm,
So that's my stance. That's my opinion, but my opinion expands where I think other people should also follow that opinion,
I get you.
right? And I'm willing to stand on my ground for those topics. Um,
Mm,
and to me, I'm taking every opinion you say as, hey, look, I'm Gaio. These are my ethical grounds. These are my moral grounds. These are my beliefs, and I stand on these opinions based on those
mm,
compasses.
mm.
So in that sense, that's what I'm saying is I'm like, if you're gonna like I'm like, you know, diving or not diving in, I'm like I'm rooted to these opinions that I have, and I'm assuming if you're rooted to yours, I'm like, well, I disagree. Like I don't think even if eating Tide Pods is like look, if the Tide Pod challenge didn't exist in the world, we would not have any different of a world. We would just have less problems that occur, right? I think everyone can agree
Yeah,
that the
no.
Tide Pod challenge could be banned and no one would be hurt. If anything, it would probably save lives.
Mhm.
But I'm like, but I don't want to set that precedence. You know, what if they say like, I don't know, man, like anything. Like I just don't want to set precedents on things that aren't like, I don't know, man. I worry about setting precedents. It's like the only way I can put it. Because like the thing is like, what's next then? Hey, driving on the phone is dangerous, and damn right it is. Driving period is dangerous. No more cars allowed. We're walking everywhere.
Then within itself, that's a stretch, yo.
That's how it starts though.
No, but it's like you could always say that, but it's like you could just eliminate one thing and then everything else is kept. Like, why do you need to always go
So
into
the
fear and
same
dread?
dis the same distrust you have for people like Elon Musk and things that would create these crazy technologies, I have the same distrust for the government that would oppose a certain thing, you know, like oppose a viral movement or whatever it may be, like the Harlem Shake. I don't know, like it was causing too many accidents in New York because people kept trying to do the Harlem Shake.
Right. But
I don't know if that actually happened. I'm just making shit up, but
so you fear a government controlling things more than like, elites doing it and giving you a sense of choice?
no, I'm saying you should have your opinions on both be like, like make like both kind of play out the same
Mm.
way. Like you can't say, hey, I have a distrust for Elon Musk and the decision to make this, or not like you have a distrust for him making it, but I'm saying like you're not fully bought in because you don't know what his motives are. But then you like can blindly trust whatever this entity is that would choose to block,
Mm.
Tide Pod challenges. Like who's gonna decide? And are you gonna trust them fully? Right? Like, and I think there's never gonna be a set of people or individuals that you can trust fully like that. So I would much rather just have the freedom and be like, some dumb motherfucker's gonna die or hurt
Mm.
themselves. And you
Okay,
and
I
you
got you.
hope that rather than like forcefully removing them from being in that situation, let's create like let's find ways to get smarter homes, like I don't mean by Alexa, but like whether it's good parenting or after school programs or like meals or like like free government funded buildings where like kids can go do shit after school
That's
or
a whole
during
conversation though, man. Like, how do we ensure that?
ensure which part.
Like every system, every like wraparound you just presented.
Agreed, but I
In the
would say
system that
that
we
I
have
would
right now that is so
yeah.
prone to trends that creates the lack of the others. So it kind of becomes
So
complex.
again, the trend is not the problem. The trend is
Well, it's not a
not what's
direct problem, but it creates a synergy.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like you solving the trend problem is not going to solve everything else.
Oh, it won't.
However, I would say that you solving United States children hunger, children homelessness, lack of parenting, lack of education, I think those problems would solve many different problems, including trends. So I'm saying like, what's the root? And I don't know if that's the
Mm,
root. I'm just saying that might
right,
be.
right.
Sorry,
But
I'm
it's like
like
you
I'm
also,
talking a lot today.
I get you, but it's like we also have to
I,
consider it's like the way the things are set up and the way in which like we see these companies also allows for these like deficiencies to exist in the first place. So it's kind of like, well, where do we make the right trade-offs to be able to like balance one and the other, and like, and you know what I'm saying? It's like instead of living in the ideal state of like we have to improve things, but then they exist because of the things that we hold dear, or like or the way
yeah,
we go about it.
I think and that's the unfortunate thing about capitalism too, right? Like everyone's there to get their own, right? It's to get your own bag. And
Right.
at the end of the day, like someone's gonna suffer for someone gaining something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in that same regard, I'm not for socialism, right? Like I'm not for everyone makes the exact same amount for everything. Like if we could, man, it's tough, dude. It's really tough, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is a.
There's no ideal system,
It,
man. It's just more so like, what's your style? That's really
it's
it.
a human, yeah. It's what's your style, and I'm just it's crazy. And I think me and you alone in this conversation can show you why ideal worlds will never exist. Like, period. No, never ever will exist unless you intend on removing people from Earth that oppose your views and eradicating them to the fullest. Any person that, and that's pretty much dictatorship, right? But for Earth, for the universe. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not to get like super like out there, but I'm saying like that's the only way you can find like you can solve the human problem.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like we're
just
all
tribes.
we what was
It's
that?
simple as it's just tribes. It's like people function well when they have a sense of tribe. If they don't, like,
I agree.
go to fucking luck.
And yeah, I mean they say like, like if I had this, or I don't know who said it, but there was this one period where I was thinking like if everybody was in smaller units and they didn't know each other, would we be better? Like if all 50 states all disbanded and did their own things in their countries, would that really be a better situation, or would
I
we just
think
have wars about
it's
all these
like,
states?
it's just like, bro, you're always gonna have wars. That's inevitable. But it's like, I think wars within itself is not a bad thing. I think it's more so as like, I think people would be more fulfilled. Like there would be less depressions. People would feel more sense of purpose, and
How do you see
that's
that
something that
playing out?
like,
Like
what do you mean?
how do we get to that from states being separated and being
From
their own
smaller
countries?
groups. Because when it's smaller groups, it's like, you don't have as many people competing for the same positions. It's like you stay kind of localized. So it's kind of like you're always going to have your purpose, right? You have your family around you like most of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you don't have to go that far. things are not being over competed for. So essentially, it downsizes the scale, and it keeps things like a lot more manageable into such like we'll probably live like more fulfilled lives, honestly.
And at that, I think you would have to give up a lot of things we have today, though.
I mean, absolutely, but it's like it comes down to the again, it's just philosophy at this point. It's like, what is a good life really?
Facts. Now, I would also argue that you can live a good life with the current state of things.
I mean, it's because we don't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's either that or we just.
No, you always have a choice.
Well, I'm
You can
saying,
always choose
what
to.
I'm saying is like there's no point to exist in dread. You know what I'm saying? It's
No,
like
I mean, I think what I'm trying to say more is that, like, if I wanted to, and when I say if I wanted to, I'm talking specifically someone who's like in the United States, because other countries got different rules, different laws, and you may not be
right.
able to do what I can do. But if I wanted to, I can quit my job, sell my house, move into a cabin in the woods, and just live the rest of my life, or possibly die because I don't know how to forage for food. Right? I have the
Mhm.
opportunity or the choice to do that. I also have the choice to live in be a cog in the system, get a
Right.
job. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like I already have the and I guess like one thing is like the thing I'm not willing to give up from having smaller tribes is honestly like the connection between all human beings, like the ability to innovate
You can still do that.
I don't think so.
You can
I
still
think it'll
trade.
ultimately
Like there's still trade. Like
that's how we got to where we are today. We
yeah, but
started
it's
doing
like but,
smaller trades.
why do we need imperialism? That's the real question.
What was that? Why do we need
It's
imperialism?
like
Like kings and queens?
this connection that you keep like. I mean, obviously there's a beauty to it, right? But it came because of imperialism. Like it didn't come at a pretty like
When you say
cost.
imperialism, you're talking about like kings and queens, like monarchies?
No, like just people taking other motherfuckers' lands. You know what I'm saying? Or like coming
Sure.
in and like be like just taking the shit or like like that sort
Why
of
do
thing.
you? Yeah, but why do you think that's not gonna happen if we were smaller groups? I think more.
I'm not
It'll
saying it
happen
won't
more so.
happen, but it's like nah. I think you're thinking of us as
Duh.
too savage, man. For example, it's
You don't
like,
think we don't think we're savage, though?
well, I think you're like you. I don't know. It sounds like you romanticize civilization a little too much,
I okay. Hold up.
and I might be romanticizing the smaller civilization.
Yeah, like
But it's like I
let's kind of how small are you talking? Like when you say like let's get people smaller, like what level are we talking? Are we talking like
I'm
on the
like smaller
extreme 10 to
population sizes, bro. Like that's it. Because think about
no
it, like
no
look at the
but no
countries
no
that function very like well in the modern era, right? Usually smaller countries, like it's like all the ones that everybody like speaks kindly of, like Canada, Norway, Sweden, right? Like Denmark, like they're all
what
like smaller amounts of people, and I guess it's you can get
yep.
along better. So what I'm saying, it's like if countries weren't as big and as populous, things would probably be better. I mean, I'm not saying that we'll get rid of wars. I'm not saying that would we'd be all like holding hands, singing to the sun. No, but it's
So
like
well
we'd
let's
be
look
a lot
at
more manageable.
well Canada has 37.6 million people, right? In
Mhm.
2019, this is the data for 2019. Texas has 29 people. Polar opposites,
29, 29 million
million,
or 29. Okay.
29 million. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So like not too far off. I think they're very similar size in population, right? Maybe not
Mm-hmm.
per capita of like land or
Yeah.
whatever, but
True.
so I I would say that Canada and Texas are very different in terms of every single ideology.
Right. And is that an
So
issue?
I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you think that Texas's views like so? Let's say Texas separated from the U.S., right? They became its
Mhm.
own country. Like I think for the most part, I don't know, unless like Austin and Houston and Dallas really have a really overwhelming population of liberal people, like I think it will be a conservative state. I think it'll have extremely conservative views, and I
Right.
think if they have the power to do whatever they want with the border, with the people that exist here today, like not before, like
All right. They
U.S.
somehow
took
became
it all.
autonomous. I'm getting.
Yeah, like it's like I don't really think you can say that. Hey, less people means that they'll function better. I think they'll agree, right? Because there's less people, and that means that like
But that's
you're kind
why
of
you function better.
you're forced to go with the trend. I'm sorry, what?
No, but that's why you function better. It's like it's as simple as like
You don't
when you
function
invite.
better, you function similarly. You function as a unit. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better or it because
Well,
what I'm trying
that's
to get
why. Well, I mean, that's what I define as better because it's like there's not like as many disagreements, or it's like there's a lot more like consensus in differentiation to like a large amount of people where it's like everybody wants to put their opinion in, and it's just like it's kind of, I guess it's as simple as like yo, like a kickback, manageable. A fucking party that can get out of your hands real fast.
sure, I agree. But I think it's also depends on how rowdy the or let me say this. Not how rowdy the kickback or the party can get, but what you're supplying at each party. right?
I mean,
If
that's
the
true, but
kickback
it's
is
like,
giving Everclear and the other one is giving light beer, like Everclear is gonna hit your crew a lot harder.
yeah, but anyway, I mean, obviously that's one thing to consider, but it's like probability wise, like the bigger group is more likely to like get
True,
out of hand. So it's
true.
I'm just
No, very
thinking of
true.
probabilities, man. You know, like I
Yeah.
mean, obviously there are like nuances and case by case. I always I vouch for that heavy, but it's I think like just probabilities is probability.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I guess my worry is that like ultimately what will happen is if we were to split all these people up, like they will eventually just revert back to imperialism, like you say, right? Like trying to get more land, get more resources, because not every land is created equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I see what you're putting.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I have a very depressing view on human and their ability to coexist.
That's funny because yet you don't, because it's like when we presented this, you got a little more like I guess I don't want to say just a lot more cynical, right? Um,
Yes,
but it's like when it came to like more Elon's things, you were a lot more positive. So
because let me explain why. I said I have a very I didn't say cynical, but I will use the word cynical because you're right. I have a very cynical view on people's ability to coexist as a human unit. I'm not saying what I'm saying is like Elon as one human being in the earth has done a lot of things that I've been positive for, that I've been like, or not positive for, that I've been like into, that I've like appreciated, that I respect. So therefore, him as one human being, one unit in this big cog of earth, I am down to follow him because of his past standards.
right, but then we come into
That's
like
too.
the aspect of a leader. It's like it's like any of these groups could find a good leader, and it could be an Elon figure, and they'll be good. So it's like
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, 100%.
so it's so I'm just saying is I find it interesting how like when people become more compartmentalized, like you get a lot more cynical, and the other one where it's like where there's no really like
Or
there's
no,
no
no, it's the
true
other
like
way.
limit.
I'm the other way. I think when you compartmentalize, I don't get as cynical. When you start talking broad, I get cynical.
But we're talking smaller populations though.
I know I'm saying I don't trust smaller pot. Oh, hold up. I just don't. I don't trust. Let me rephrase that. So I'm not saying. I'm saying smaller population slash what USA is today is still like huge. Like
Yeah, uses is fucking big. Yeah, that's facts.
so. And what I'm not saying that when you make things smaller that it will immediately cause like bad things to happen. I think what I'm seeing more is that like let's say we broke about 50 states, maybe 40 of them are doing great. They're all shaking hands, loving that neighbor, non-sexually, like in a more like trade fashion, right? But I bet there's gonna be those like 5 to 7 states that
Right,
start to do some dumb shit, and
right.
and then I think it'll just revert back to this thing of like, actually, man, I don't know, because then I
The thing is, like,
see
we
like
don't know if it will revert. It's like, what if the other ones make allegiances and they're like, all right, fuck the other guy. We're gonna take them down.
yeah, but that's not any better than what you're proposing.
Not necessarily, man, because it's like it becomes it's like I'm not saying it's gonna be ideal and everyone's gonna be like on their own shit. That will never fucking happen. But I'm saying it's like at least people will have more autonomy and it's like it's just like simpler lives and it's like sometimes that makes life better, man. Simple.
But what I'm trying to say is you can live a simpler life without forcing everyone else to change their life today in America. Like if you wanted a simpler life, you can move to a farm, work at a farm, and like milk cows, have
But
food
that but
from.
it's like but that's me like to a degree like not partaking in my society. It's like that's me looking out like strictly for me. Meanwhile, like in the other one, it's like I can partake in a society and still have that simple life.
Yeah, but you're gonna meet people like me that don't agree with you. Like I don't want to revert
In a
modernization. I don't
smaller
want.
population or like in
I, well, nah. Well, look. Here's what I'll say. I don't want to split up the United States. I don't think splitting up all the 50 states into its own countries is a smart decision.
mm-hmm.
Right? Like so I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like that's my stance. So like you can say it's for the betterment of all people, but not everyone's gonna agree with you. So then therefore then that comes back to me of being like make it a choice. Like make it.
But we're already subjective, yo. Like that's the thing.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying it's like by me splitting it up, it's like I mean obviously it's like at this point that's like it's not reasonable. It's like you would require a lot of like infrastructure that just probably won't pan out. But I think obviously if for example let's say we split the states, right? Like just a hypothetical. And it's like people were able to move to the states that like you
Hmm.
were like as soon as it broke you were like hey man you can move to any state that fits your vibe. go.
I like that.
It's like then it wouldn't fucking be an issue because it's like everybody would be what the fuck they want to be. They'd be surrounded by the people they want to be, and it would be the same shit with choice. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me say this then. Let's say Texas turns conservative. I love Austin. I've grown up here. I'm a very liberal person. I don't want to move out of Austin. Now I gotta fucking move to Montana because it's liberal.
You know, it's like I
That's
think
why
that's
I think I've.
I want to
Oh,
live
sorry, go ahead.
comfortably, man. It's just like then it just comes down. It's like I guess it's like I mean again that goes into the subjectivity of it. It's like how important are certain things to you? For me, for sure, it would be more important to be surrounded by an environment that I feel more alive in. Maybe for you, you just have more of an emotional connection to the city or place that you just have more history with.
I think the one good thing that throughout this conversation, I think one thing is good. At least I've noticed is that like I think my approach to a lot of things have been the idea of freedom, and your approach has been with the idea of like, and I'm not saying this as like a bad thing, but like kind of your on what you on the views that you believe in, but extended to multiple people because you truly believe like these are things that will be a net positive for the human race, right? So you have good intentions coming in, but I think like for me, it's like every decision that doesn't allow me to have a choice, I'm against.
See, for me, it's like there's some things where it's like I see choice can be overvalued sometimes.
So is that what I'm saying? What can
Like
be
choice for
overvalued?
me in particular, it's like again, I'm not trying to like push this on anybody, but from my experience, from the things I've gathered, from the things I read, from the things I watch, is like choice can be an overvalued thing sometimes.
What if they say poetry can never be done anymore?
And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Is that fine?
put it this
Not
way.
fine.
It's fine if I get certain other things. It's all trade off. You know what I'm saying? For example, if you told me, hey man, you can't do poetry, but it's like, yo, like you can like feel
But
alive in a community. They really welcome you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's like you feel like home. Fuck
yeah,
poetry,
you're
dude.
willing
You
to
know what I'm
take.
saying?
Okay, full circle. That's why I'm all for Neuralink. I don't care if Elon wants to make billions of dollars. If he causes a net positive, if he cures blindness, if he cures deafness, if he
But will they
cures.
really cure it, man? If like it's just made to
No,
like
I'm saying I'm
education?
willing to take that chance. I'm
Oh,
willing to take that risk. Like, if you say you can do these things with this technology in the future, let's figure it out. Let's see what you can do.
all
And if
right.
and
But
if
it's like
if the byproduct of that is you get a shitload of money and you have a lot of power, man, trade-offs.
I get it, but it's like in the situation you presented me, it's like that's entirely hypothetical, right? And it's like so it's like it's too ideal, right? It's like, oh shit, you can absolutely guarantee that the trade-off is gonna work. But with Elon, it's like, how can we even guarantee these things? And that's the reason why I scrutinize him a little more. Because it's like, yeah,
Yeah, but
they sound fucking good. And like I'm for some of these ideas, but it's like at the same time, it's like, yo, it's like, let's scrutinize as we go and let's build something in between. Sort of
wait,
thing.
has Elon? Last question: has Elon not delivered with what he said to you personally, with the things he's done?
Not me in particular, man, because it's like, but I'm talking like, for example, it's like the self-driving aspect, right? That shit was
Sure,
supposed to be
sure, sure, sure.
completed a while back ago. Still not around. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so
I agree.
that's that sort of thing. I'm going.
I agree, but I think you're also like really not giving him a lot of credit for the progress he has made.
I mean, no, I'm giving credit, but but I'm also again, I'm playing like God's enemy, right? It's like so many people like just hype Elon, and again, he's done great shit, but it's like, also like sometimes you need to be like, but wait, also look at this.
I agree, right? But I don't know. For me, I just feel like you looked at 100% of Elon, you saw that 20% was bad, and based on the 20%, you're discounting the 80%.
I'm not discounting it. I'm just making people aware of the 20. That's it. It's like I'm not taking away that it exists. It's like
Well, let's
I'm
say
not
like
saying that it doesn't mean shit. It's just like, hey, like yeah, it's cool, but it's like, have you seen this other aspect?
yeah, and you know you're right to an extent. Let me not sensationalize all that can be done with Neuralink. Let's say out of all the things he says he can cure, he can only cure blindness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he said he can do a lot of things.
All
I
right.
feel like curing blindness is going to be like the low end, or maybe let's not say curing blindness. I don't know, like let's say like if you have Parkinson's, you have
It
less.
improves things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think there will be a net negative. Like, I mean, well, there may be. Like, maybe you start Neuralink and everyone who gets a chip implanted dies. Like, that could be a net negative, right? So I guess what I'm saying is like for me though, like even the lowest positive outcome is better than, is like great, not better than. It's like
Interesting.
amazing,
I get
right?
that, but
Like,
for me, it's also like I don't want like Pyrrhic victories to end up happening, or
yeah.
like like one good thing happens, but a lot of other shit gets lost. It's like, well, fuck, like did it matter? Like,
Well, what do you think is gonna get lost though?
I don't know. No, it's just like I'm not saying like this is just again. It's like I'm just saying like it should just be taken like a step at a time, a bite at a time. You know what I'm saying? It's like it should be scrutinized by the neuroscientists. It shouldn't just be like a fight
Yeah,
between
yeah,
them. It should there should be some methodical nature to this whole thing. That's all I'm
I
saying.
agree. I agree with all that. And to a little degree, I think that is happening. Like I think it has been done in steps. I think there are teams of experts in their each field that like are going to be a part of the project, right? Like I don't think it's just like going to be Elon, doing everything, right?
Absolutely, but it's like just in case. Like we shouldn't just assume it either. You know what I'm saying?
um, I
Because like yeah, like he doesn't show well, but it's like it's just like it's like just because he's done good shit, it's like we shouldn't always assume that like
no,
things are
I'm
always
just
like.
basing it off of that conference, like where they presented all those stuff. Like like, did you watch it?
I didn't watch the conference, but I read more on the critique from the researchers in
So in
particular.
the conference, they literally had like surgeons, they had people who do like development and like the APIs for the technology. They
Right,
had
but it's also a
Elon.
presentation. Doesn't that have, within itself also has to have a bias?
No, it had a Q and I mean, I'm sure that maybe the questions were vetted, right? What the point I'm trying to make here is that like you're saying, you need to have neurosurgeons as a part of this conversation. You need to hear them out and all this. And I'm like there's like a wide group of expertise that are being deployed here.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is like I think all the hopes that you have of like, hey, let's make sure we're doing this ethically, let's make sure we're doing this securely. I can't prove it to you, and nobody really can because motives are hidden on individually alone.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it looks like that's what's being done, right? Like, okay, FDA, even if it's not the best, it seems to be the guidelines that we're using today. So the FDA is involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's a medical procedure being done. There's surgeons that work on the team. There's also a robot that will be doing the surgery itself, right? That they're trying to make iterations and improvements on. The
Mm-hmm.
robots runs on code. There's a guy who does technology things. Like, so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I think that, and the whole part of the whole part of the whole point of the actual conference was to actually hire folks in each sector that are like or like the
Yeah.
smartest people who have an interest in this type of topic. So I think like they're doing exactly what you want them to do, at least from what you just said.
Right, but I'm just bringing up the questions because it's like I haven't like looked into the fine print. You know what I'm saying? So it's like again, what I'm just going is like it's like yeah, it seems like a good team's gathering. Seems like shit's in place, but it's like make sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Because I can't make sure, right? I don't think you can make sure either.
I
That's why
mean, yeah,
I'm.
absolutely.
Oh, you said
But,
what?
so but we can look at like the wide range of like critiques that might be available as well as the things that are lauded. That's why it's important to like look at like everything that's going into that conversation, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, like it's like you come out with like a more sensible. I mean, it's always not going to be fully objective, but a more objective stance on like the entire thing.
Yeah, I agree, and I think with that, I don't think that we need to even go any further. I feel like we just have
Uh,
two different opinions, and um, actually, they're not. I wouldn't even say different. I just think they're two opinions that sometimes align in waves and sometimes don't. But
they're. I think it's just the duality of like the conversation.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? It's like
yeah, it's
that's
both things we got to consider. Like both,
exactly
well, you need to consider both of these thoughts.
right,
Um,
precisely.
yeah, man, I agree. I don't know, man. th- I I feel like today is like a really bizarre thing. Like in the early 2000s, you probably saw movies with flying cars. We don't have flying cars, but we definitely have some things that are kind of mind-bogglingly crazy that we have accomplished as humans.
Right. There's some cool things, but there are some things that won't happen. There are things that like are coming. It's just one of the things. That's like the future is like not up to the standard of our imagination. We just have to see it unfold. That's it.
I actually think it's more the market is not up to the market doesn't justify the vision, right? The only reason the flying cars don't exist is because it doesn't make economic sense. We have helicopters, that's flying cars,
That's true.
right? It's just the market hasn't like kind of. But anyways,
Well, but
I think we're like
that's
over.
yeah. That's why I said like the future is not how we envision it. It's like we just have to
Right.
unfold because
But I
it's
think
like
it's not based on like the ability to achieve those goals. I think it's more just like money or economics.
right. It could be so many things, man. It's like it could be
Yeah,
that.
that's
It could
true.
be
That's
it's
true.
like sometimes they pair with each other. Sometimes it's some other shit.
Yeah,
Just
you're
like
right. You're
yeah.
right. All right, man.
Yeah, man, but I think with that we can close, man. It's like I think we took them through the product through a philosophical journey, and then we came back.
Yeah, man. Anything else? Any way you want to conclude this?
Nah, man. I think that's it. I think we reached like what a conversation really ends up being. It's just
Yeah,
like
man.
yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. This was a conversation about Neuralink, man. I personally am extremely excited and very faithful. Faithful. Yeah, I guess I have faith in Elon, and I hope the stuff he does kind of turns out good. And maybe
Mhm.
already have a bald head, so it might be a little bit easier to do the surgery for me. Actually,
Dude,
they got to figure out for bald people, man, because like you can't. I don't want to have a scar on my head.
that's
Because
a good
they said
point.
once your hair grows, you can't really see it. But I'm like,
That's a
I ain't
very
got no
good point.
hair.
That's a very
I
good
mean,
point. Well,
anyways,
far out, man.
au revoir. Is that what you say usually,
Au
right?
revoir, man. Yeah.
All right, I'll say namaste.
I bet.